Hi friends, it's Julia. I'm here to share a layout that I created using my September 2019 Mini Kit Monday kit. It's a kit that I've had sitting on my shelf. Well, it's August, so August of 2020, so it's been there since September of 2019, so almost a year. Anywho, so I have started off with these papers. I have those three there that were already cut down to 6x6 size. And so I'm just going to cut another scrap into a 6x6 size to use across the top portion of my layout. Now this layout is one that was inspired by the Allison Davis 6x6 class that she's doing through Scrapbook Generation. And so I've just pulled out some photos that I thought would work. And so you can see they're all different sizes, and I'm going to cut them down here in a few minutes. Now the papers across the top are not going to end up being true 6x6. They're going to be cut down as well. And I'm following this sketch fairly closely to create this layout. Those top pieces of paper are going to be cut down to, I think, about 5.5 by 4.5 on top. And then the photos along the bottom are cut to 3.5 by 5, with the exception of the ones that were 4x6 that I cut down. And you'll see what I do in that instance here in just a few minutes. Now, if you guys have been watching Scrapbook Generation videos or any Allison Davis videos, or you've been to her old blog that she used to have, I started watching her years ago on her blog, and she was heavy into stitching and creating her own embellishments. And I love that because for me, you know, when I first started scrapbooking, I wasn't necessarily all about the embellishments because I tended to make a lot of embellishments on my own, whether through paper piecing or cutting images like floral images out of paper, that kind of thing. And she did a lot of that to start with. And she really focused on 12 by 12 layouts, double page 12 by 12 layouts. And so that's what I'm doing here. This is a 12 by 12 sketch that I'm using to inspire this layout. So there I'm just kind of looking at things and deciding how much I needed to cut off. And I haven't cut them completely down to size just yet. The photos are, and those will go down, and then I'll put the pattern papers down. But you can see when I do a double page layout like this, a lot of times I like to use a little washi tape along the back and glue them together so it feels like I'm almost working on a 12 by 24 layout as opposed to two separate 12 by 12 layouts. I don't always do it, but you know, occasionally I'll do it this way. So the layout is actually, we had been at my mother's house over summer vacation, and all the kids came and said, "What's for lunch?" And I was going to make a big lunch that day, and for whatever reason, no one wanted to wait for me to fix the lunch, so they all decided to raid their grandmother and great grandmother's pantry, and they found ramen noodles. She had like, I don't know, 20 packs or something of ramen noodles. And so they helped themselves to the ramen noodles. So they were all eating noodles. So that's what it was. The title of my layout is "I'm Hungry, What's for Lunch?" And noodles is, of course, the response. And you can see those two photos there are a little bit shorter. They are 3.5 by 4s instead of the 5. So I have an inch of space to fill up. So what I'm doing is I'm going through my border strips that I have cut off the pages or cut down on papers to create other layouts with this kit. And so I'll just use some of those to kind of beef up the bottom there along those photos. You can see I'll just cut them down a little bit and make them work. I really love hanging on to those border strips until I am done with the kit to know that I'm not going to use those anymore because I always find a way to use them up or use them quite a bit. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just tucking those in. This one is also one, and I don't know, You guys may have seen some of Allison Davis's work before. She's really heavy on stitching on her layouts, and the inspiration layout on this one called for stitching. So I pulled in some black crochet twine that I have. It's a little thicker than embroidery floss, but not as thick as regular twine. I hope that makes sense. And you can see I, took time to sew all the way across the top of those squares and down a portion of them. Now I'm going to take a piece of washi tape and go across there to bring in that hot pink color. The hot pink is actually in that chevron paper as well as in this washi tape. And then in part of the title, I'm also going to have a alphabet set that has that same color. And I did not sew all the way down to the photos. I left a little bit of gap there because not only am I going to put the washi tape across there, but I'm going to put some rickrack. There was some felted rickrack in the kit, and so I'm going to put some of that down there. And that was a pain in the bottom to use that glue runner on that. It works great as far as holding the ribbon in place, but because it's rickrack, yeah, and it's not very wide rickrack, you have to spend some time folding some of that extra adhesive over on itself. But it got done. Yeah, total pain in the butt, but I like the overall effect that it created. And of course, the second piece is always a little bit faster than the first piece. And of course, I realized that if I used my stomach to hold it in place and hold it firm and straight, I could do it a lot faster and easier. Yeah, things you learn in life, right? Big bellies come in useful for something. So now that I've got the gist down, I've got all of my photos where I want them. I have my pattern papers where I want them. Now I'm going to start working on my title. And like I said, I have that hot pink alphabet. And it may be a thickers. I don't remember now from the original kit. But I will have a playlist on my channel that has September 2019 Mini Kit Monday kit or just September 2019, and I will have all the layouts as well as the kit that I created in with that on that playlist. And so you can go back and reference that. And so here's the other font that I'm using because I've got that green paper there, and I've also got green in the chevron paper, as well as a little bit of green in some of the additional embellishments. I'm going to use that green font to create the rest of my title. And that is probably, I've had at least 3 sets of this particular alphabet in the green. And I have 2 sets here, maybe 3, I don't know. But it is my absolute favorite font of all time of ever. And they're foam thickers, so that's the other thing that I really love too. I know I can go back in a year or so and they won't be all lifted off the page. Their adhesive on the foam letter stickers works really well, whereas the chipboard, yeah, not so much. And you can see I'm using my rulers that I have there. I have always done that since I very first started scrapbooking. I will put my titles along the edge of my rulers, and I have 3 separate rulers. And I will put my title along the edge of those and then move them around where I want them. It's not everybody's favorite method, but it's what works for me. And because those are not true puffy stickers, I don't even know how to describe those letter stickers. They're a little bit soft and bendable, but they're not really squishy, but they don't stick worth a hooey. So I went ahead and I added some additional adhesive along the back of those. And because I have that stitching there, I couldn't have my title go over the stitching because it, you know, then of course your letters would not stick down. So here I'm trying to figure out, I've got all these layers of a little bag and some vellum pieces, and I'm trying to decide how I'm going to use it to create just a spot for my journaling. And so you can see I'm just kind of playing around there and getting those stuck down, and that's really and truly where they end up. I was going to use that tag, and then I thought, no, I'm just going to go straight down with the journaling paper that I have. And of course, you know, I left it in. Don't know why I end up doing this, but I did. My tape ran out, and so I'm having to change it out. And I think you guys know by now that I can do this pretty quickly because I go through a lot of tape. I use a lot of tape on my layouts, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind using a lot of tape. I like it to stay stuck down. Excuse me. So now I'm pulling out a stamp set that I have, and I think it is, I'll lie to you if I try to tell you, and it's across the room, so I can't tell where it's from, but I'm stamping out the word seriously across the top. And then on the bottom, it already printed on the journaling spot, it says some of my favorites. So now I've got those little chipboard heart stickers, and so I'm just going through and placing a couple of those on the layout around the journal spot, and I'm going to add a couple of little asterisks out beside the noodles. And then I'm going to add some little embellishments across the photos. Oh, here in just a minute. I'm putting these down, and I don't really like how it looks going across that thread there on the top, but I also didn't want to cut the thread and create chaos there. So I chose a different sticker to go up over those, and so it masks that, and you can't tell that it's bumped up tremendously under that. It just says love this. So I'm looking at some of the other embellishments that I pulled out that I thought I might use, going around the layout and just, you know, deciding on if I want to use some of them. Here's the point where I decided I wanted to have some embellishment clusters along the photos, and especially there where the I use the paper to fill in the gaps. I'm looking through my smaller bits and pieces just to see if there's anything in there that I can use to put on this layout. And I think I've mentioned it before. With layouts like this, or with my layouts in general, a lot of times I will stamp or punch things and don't use them with that, with whatever layout that I'm doing, and they all get thrown into a leftover bowl. And occasionally I will go through that leftover bowl or bin or box, whatever the case may be, and pull out some things to use. And that's what I've done here. A lot of those little embellishments are things that I had pulled for other layouts, didn't get used, put them in that leftovers box, and now I'm using them here. I'm going to beef them up just a wee bit more by adding a few additional embellishments there. And I thought about putting something on that blue space only because the other spaces, the other papers across the top have something on them. But I thought, you know, no, I'll just leave that alone just like it is. And I did lose a little bit of footage of putting on all the little tiny bits and pieces here at the end. But I will have photos at the end that show all of the close-ups of all the little embellishment clusters, as well as, you know, the general 2-page look of it when it's completely done. I appreciate you guys being here today, and I would love it if you would flip me a thumbs up. And if you feel interested in seeing layouts made with older stash, please feel free to subscribe. And anyway, I will see you on the next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.